Hey everyone, welcome to 59 Tops Friday, presented by Wax Pack Wisdom, where we talk baseball history through the cards we love. My name is Jake T. O'Donnell. We built the iconic 1959 Topps baseball set, and in this series, we're going through every card to talk about the players, teams, and people who made up Major League Baseball in 1959. Today, we'll cover cards 360 through 366 in the set. Card number 360 belongs to Al Kaline of the Detroit Tigers. 1959 was his 7th season in Major League Baseball. From the time he was a teenager through the last of his days, Al Kaline's name was entirely synonymous with the only team with which he was ever associated, the Detroit Tigers. Mr. Tiger spent 67 years working for the organization, but most crucially, he was among the finest all-around players in baseball for over 2 decades. Hailing from Baltimore, Kaline was signed by the Tigers in 1953 out of high school, and because of the bonus baby rules at the time, he was forced to join the big league club right away at age 18. He got scant playing time that year, but was installed as the Tigers' right fielder in 1954, batting .276 and finishing 3rd in the American League Rookie of the Year balloting. 1955 was when Kaline flourished. He won the batting title at .340 and led the league in hits with 200 and total bases with 321. At 20, Kaline was the youngest batting champion in AL history and was selected for the first of 18 All-Star games. From that year through 1967, Kaline batted .307, averaged 32 homers a year, won 10 Gold Gloves for his supreme right field defense, and was an All-Star every season. He finished in the top 5 in AL MVP voting 4 times and in the top 10 an additional 5 times. Kaline did much of this while dealing with constant pain in his left foot caused by multiple maladies. In 1968, Kaline missed significant time with a broken arm, but the Tigers survived long stretches without their best player, winning the pennant for the first time in Kaline's career. The Tigers found themselves down 3-1 versus the Cardinals in the World Series and were losing Game 5 by a run in the 7th inning when Kaline came to bat. He smashed a clutch 2-run single, giving the Tigers the lead. They wouldn't look back, winning the game and the next 2 to take the World Series crown. Kaline batted .379 with 2 homers and 8 RBI in the series. Kaline began to play more first base after that season. He made 2 more All-Star teams in 1971 and 1974 and batted .313 in 1972. In 1974, Kaline reached his 3,000th career hit on September 24th and then announced his retirement at season's end. He finished his career with 3,007 hits. His 399 career home runs remains the Tigers' club record. Kaline never struck out more than 66 times in a season until his final year. Immediately after his playing career, Kaline became a color commentator for Tigers broadcasts, a role he held through the 2001 season. He was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility in 1980, and was the first Tiger to have his number retired by the franchise. Starting in 2002, Kaline worked in a front office role for the Tigers, which he maintained until his death in 2020. Card number 361 belongs to Willard Nixon of the Boston Red Sox. 1959 would have been Nixon's 10th year in the big leagues, but he did not end up playing in the big leagues in 1959. Nixon, a right-handed pitcher, would play his 9 seasons in the majors, all with the Red Sox. Nixon signed with the Red Sox in 1948 after graduating from Auburn. Over the course of his career, Nixon would earn a 69-72 record, a 4.39 ERA, with 616 strikeouts in 225 appearances, including 177 starts, 51 complete games, 9 shutouts, and 3 saves. Nixon was considered to be an above-average hitting pitcher with a career batting average of .242. Although Nixon never won more than 12 games in a season, he would become known for his ability to beat the Yankees, earning his nickname, the Yankee Killer. When Nixon started the 1958 season, he had the longest tenure with the Red Sox at the time besides Ted Williams. Later in 1958, a sore arm would force Nixon to spend part of the season with the Red Sox and part of the season with AAA. He went to 1959 spring training with the Red Sox in Scottsdale, Arizona, but his arm continued to bother him, and he received an outright release on April 4, 1959. Nixon worked as a scout for the Red Sox from 1959 to 1963, when he went to work in business and then in law enforcement. Nixon's career in law enforcement was ironic, as he was known around the Red Sox clubhouse as a forger of other players' signatures, including Ted Williams, who would reportedly give Nixon boxes of balls to sign for him. Nixon would go on to be one of the most successful amateur golfers in Northwest Georgia, and he died in 2000 at the age of 72. Card number 362 belongs to Dolan Nichols of the Chicago Cubs. Nichols did not appear in MLB in 1959. In total, Nichols pitched in 8 professional seasons with the Cubs and Indians. He made a name for himself in 1955, winning 17 games for the Tulsa Oilers of the Texas League. The Indians traded him to the Cubs after the 1957 season, and in 1958, Nichols made 24 relief appearances for the Northsiders. In 41 1/3 innings, Nichols had an 0-4 record with a 5.01 ERA. Ahead of the 1959 season, Nichols was optioned to the Cubs team in Fort Worth. Nichols is the next player in the 1959 top set who was issued 2 cards, one with an option statement on the back, and one without an option statement on the back. Nichols worked as a furniture salesman after his career in baseball, and he died in 1989. Card number 363 belongs to Bobby Avila of the Baltimore Orioles. 1959 was Avila's 11th and final year in the big leagues. He was a second baseman who spent 10 seasons with the Indians before splitting his last year between the Orioles, Red Sox, and Braves. Roberto Francisco Avila Gonzalez, known as Beto, was born in Mexico in 1924. Avila would play in the Mexican League before signing with the Indians in 1948 and debuting in MLB the next year. He would appear in only 31 games in 1949 behind Hall of Famer Joe Gordon. In 1951, Avila began a string of 5 consecutive seasons during which he started in at least 135 games for the Indians. In 1952, 1954, and 1955, Avila was named to the American League All-Star team. He was the first Mexican-born player to play in an All-Star game and the first to win a batting championship. 1954 was considered to be the best season of his career despite breaking his thumb when a player slid into him at second base. Avila won the American League batting championship with a .341 batting average in 1954. That same year, he was named the Sporting News American League Player of the Year. After retiring, Avila owned a Mexican baseball team and then became president of the Mexican League. Avila went on to become mayor of his hometown and served 2 terms in the Mexican National Legislature. He was inducted into the Mexican Professional Baseball Hall of Fame in 1971 and posthumously into the Latino Baseball Hall of Fame in 2010. Avila died in 2004 at the age of 80. Card number 364 belongs to Danny McDevitt of the Los Angeles Dodgers. 1959 was McDevitt's 3rd year in the big leagues. McDevitt was a left-handed pitcher who spread his 6 major league seasons between the Brooklyn and Los Angeles Dodgers, Yankees, Twins, and Athletics. McDevitt was born in Manhattan before his family relocated to Pennsylvania, where he would star on his high school's baseball team. He attended St. Bonaventure until he dropped out to sign with the Yankees in 1951. The Yankees released McDevitt prior to his major league debut to serve in the Army during the Korean War. Following his military service, McDevitt signed with the Dodgers. During his rookie season, McDevitt was the starting pitcher for the Brooklyn Dodgers for their last game at Ebbets Field in Brooklyn on September 24, 1957, before they moved to Los Angeles. No one was aware at the time that it was going to be the last start at Ebbets Field because it was not until October 1957 that the owner of the Dodgers announced the team would be moving to Los Angeles. Following the move to Los Angeles, McDevitt spent 3 more seasons with the Dodgers, including as a member of the 1959 World Series championship team. He did not pitch in the World Series. McDevitt ended his career with a 21-27 win-loss record, a 4.40 ERA, and a 303 career strikeouts. Following his MLB career, McDevitt worked for the Federal Economic Development Administration in Atlanta. McDevitt also worked in real estate and managed a Christmas tree farm. He died in 2010 at the age of 78. Card number 365 belongs to Gus Bell of the Cincinnati Redlegs. 1959 was Bell's 10th year in the big leagues. Like Ray Boone, who we covered in a previous edition of this series, Gus Bell was the patriarch of a family that saw 3 generations of players make it to the major leagues. He signed with the Pirates in 1947 and debuted with them in 1950. While he led the NL in triples in 1951, it wasn't until a trade to Cincinnati for 1953 that he hit his stride. That year, he smacked 30 homers, batted .300, and made the first of 4 National League All-Star teams in his career. Bell would remain a strong hitter and outfield presence for the Reds for the rest of the decade, and in 1961, he appeared in his only World Series in Cincy's loss to the Yankees. The Mets selected him in the expansion draft ahead of their first season in 1962, and later that year he was traded to the Braves. He played intermittently for them until May 1964 when he was released and then retired. Bell worked as a scout for the Indians and Rangers, among other jobs, and was elected to the Reds Hall of Fame in 1964. Gus Bell's son Buddy spent 18 years in the majors as a player and 9 as a manager, and his grandsons Mike and David also played in MLB, with David managing 6 years for the Reds. Card number 66 belongs to Humberto Robinson of the Milwaukee Braves. 1959 was his 4th MLB season. When Robinson made his debut with the Braves, he became the first Panamanian player in history to appear in the major leagues. Robinson ended up pitching in 102 games in the majors for the Braves, Indians, and Phillies with a 3.25 ERA and 213 innings. Robinson made headlines across the United States in 1959 for his actions in response to an attempt by a Philadelphia business owner to get Robinson to throw a game he was set to pitch the next day for $1,500. Robinson steadfastly refused to throw the game and pitched one of the best games of his career instead. Later, the business owner was sentenced to 2 to 5 years in prison for the bribery attempt. Johnson testified at the trial that he refused to take the bribe because, quote, "I love to play baseball too much. This is my profession," close quote. After baseball, Robinson moved to Brooklyn and worked in construction, and he died in 2009. That's going to do it for this edition of 59 Tops Friday on Wax Pack Wisdom. Today's episode was written by Abby O'Donnell and Jake T. O'Donnell. Do you have a story about one of the people, players, or teams we discussed today? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear it. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our Wax Pack Wisdom content. In the video description, you will find our source material for this episode, links to where you can follow us on all social media channels, as well as a list of our favorite nonprofits and charities. Please consider a donation to one of them if you enjoyed this content. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Wax Pack Wisdom. Take care.